Hi Agneta, this is Johanna. This time I will try to describe more what the writers Anna Maria Pinter, Karin Sandstr and Gun Lundberg says in their books and less about my own experience. I will start with the useful part where I have tried to pick out some things that I found useful. Afterwards, I will go ahead with the interesting part and later finish with the confusing part. In the confusing part, I have chosen two parts from Lundbergs book, De första årens engelska, and compared them to the Swedish curriculum. Okay, let's start with the useful part. Karin Sandstr clarifies that creating a safe classroom where students are allowed to make mistakes is very important. She means that if the students are not relaxed enough to make mistakes, they will have a difficult time learning English. I remember when I was in middle school, the English subject was the worst subject I knew. I always tried to skip the English lessons. I also remember that I hated to make mistakes and tried to be perfect in everything I did. Every subject was a competition to me. And if I knew that somebody else was better than I was, I would rather skip the class altogether. Lundberg describes how important it is to give positive feedback to the students. But she stresses the importance of remembering not to sound like a parrot when giving feedback to the students. It is also important to not give the same feedback and comments to the classmates all the time. Something else that I found useful, as Anna Maria Pinter described very well, and I will spend time on, is to really get to know the students. Anna Maria Pinter says that it's very important to know your students in order to plan and create a meaningful lesson plan. For a teacher, it is also important to know the students' backgrounds and history, and to use that in the lesson plans. I have noticed that to work a lot with drama, songs, and raps is useful. Anna Maria Pinter clarifies how important it is for the students to speak and repeat in order to become good English speakers. Lundberg and Sandstr mean that working with drama, storytelling, songs, and raps is a big help in developing the students' speaking skills. The goal is for the students to have more freedom to make mistakes by pretending that is the character that makes the mistake instead of the student. I have also used Anna Maria Pinter's idea of starting a teaching diary where I take notes from the lessons I conduct. Hopefully, these notes will simplify my lesson plans in the future. And now over to the interesting part. In this part, I have only picked one point of interest that I reacted to. Lundberg explains on page 55 that everyone does not dare to speak English. Lundberg means that students in young ages are more free-spoken, and that they dare to make mistakes more often compared to students in older ages. Instead of thinking that mistakes will develop their language skills, older students are afraid of being laughed at when they pronounce or use words in a wrong manner. And the confusing part. Something that I found very, very confusing and made me very angry was when I read in Gun Lundberg's book about how much time we actually spend studying English in school, Or maybe I should say how little amount of time. The English subject only gets 480 hours during 9 years. 9 years of school. And you can just imagine how little time it is when even physical education gets more time. I think we definitely need some more time spent, especially when we have all the different goals we need to reach. According to Pinter, the key to learning a new language is to practice over and over again. And with that in my mind, I feel that 480 hours in 9 years is way too little. Another thing I found confusing is that Gun Lundberg describes that research have shown that practicing language at young ages is an advantage for the students. What I actually found confusing is that the teacher can decide when to introduce the English subject as long as they do it before the 4th grade. And actually, I can't understand how it can be up to the teacher when to introduce the English subject if the research says the sooner you start, the better. The Swedish curriculum just says it needs to be touched somewhere between the 1st and the 3rd grade. Of course, there are some goals that need to be reached before 4th grade, but in my opinion, it should be a must to introduce the English subject in the 1st grade, especially if research is speaking for that. I mean, it doesn't need to be too difficult, but young students can handle some songs in English when they are in 1st grade. And why not watch a movie in English? My opinion is that there is a lot to do, and there is just up to the teacher to be creative. Another thing I have been thinking of, maybe it should fall under the interesting part, but anyway, is if we should use textbooks and workbooks as much we do. During my AVT, I have never seen the teachers in the different classes I have visited use anything but textbooks and workbooks. According to Lundberg, textbooks and workbooks are designed to be fun, but Pinter means that textbooks and workbooks just cover boring subjects about time, clothes, and other boring things, while the students may be interested in, for example, toys, candy, and sports. At the same time, Lundberg says that a motivated student will learn more. And in this regard, I agree with Sandstr. I think that the textbooks and workbooks are kind of boring. Finally, what I found most interesting in these 3 books is the drama and song part, and I will use it as often as I can. You can read more about why I'm sold on the drama in my written lesson plan that I have sent in. Thank you for listening.